Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name's Ben Munro and I'm a fourth year marketing scholar, which means I'm almost at the end of my degree and have already completed 3 of my internships. So I'll tell you a little bit more about that later, but what we're here today to talk about is the registration and application process for co-op scholarships. So just before we dive into everything, there's a live chat box, so if you have any questions throughout the whole presentation, please just type them in there, and at the end of the preso I'll go through and answer all of those questions. So please at any time just pop them in that live chat box. So for any of you who don't know too much about the co-op program, I'll just give you a little rundown of exactly what it is before we dive into the whole application. So in a nutshell, co-op scholarship is a scholarship for high achieving students that pairs you up with sponsored businesses and lets you do a number of internships in a certain field throughout your degree. So basically the idea is that you get to apply your knowledge that you learn at uni in real life situations, and this is something that'll really set you apart from other university graduates. So like I said, you get that 9 to 18 months of industry experience, and that's in one of over 150 leading companies, and you'll do about 3 of those internships moving to different companies in different industries. You'll also get some professional development training, you'll get leadership training, there's plenty of networking and mentorship opportunities. So what all of this sums up to is getting you super prepared for your career and to enter the workforce. And like I said, that's really going to set you apart from a lot of other university graduates. Now this is a scholarship, so it comes with $19,600 per year of your degree, and this is really helpful, allowing you to focus on your studies, might allow you to move onto campus or do something like that, just to give you some support during your uni life. And like I said, this is designed for high achieving students. So there is an ATAR cutoff of 96 for co-op scholarships. But what we do say as a rule of thumb is if you're expecting over 90 for your ATAR result, we really encourage you to apply if you think that the co-op scholarship fits well with you. You can always surprise yourself on the day. You might think you're going to get a bit lower, but if you don't apply, there's no way that you're going to get that opportunity, and you never really know what's going to happen. So our rule of thumb is if you're expecting something over 90 and you're interested in co-op, just go. There's no harm in applying, and it's actually great practice going through the whole interview process and the application process. So I mentioned those 150 plus companies that you can go to, and here's just a snapshot of some of those companies. You probably recognize a lot of the logos there, so they're really big international companies. And me personally, I went to Colgate-Palmolive for my first internship, MSD for the second one, and most recently Salesforce. So these were 3 very different companies in completely different industries, so it gave me really diverse experience and a few different perspectives on marketing. So for me, being able to graduate at the end of 4 years with that experience, that diverse experience, is something that's really priceless. So that's kind of the core of what the co-op scholarship is all about. So now that you've got a little bit of a better understanding, let's dive into the actual application and registration process. So the first thing you want to do, if you haven't already, is hop onto the co-op website and actually register. So you can register as either a high school student if you're currently in high school and want to do co-op next year, or you can apply as a gap year student if you're currently on a gap year and want to start a co-op scholarship next year. But if you're currently in high school and want to take a gap year next year, then you will need to start the application around this time next year. So it has to be the year before you want to start that scholarship. So once you go through and you register, you'll need to put in your UAC number. If you have already started that application and didn't already have your UAC number, please remember to go back and put that in because you will need your UAC number for the application. So once you've put in that UAC number, you will get to the kind of home page of the scholarship site. And there's a few things going on here. So up the top, you've got home, there's a quick guide, some frequently asked questions, key dates, and then you'll have the application section. So as you can see, there's 5 different steps to the application, but the main ones are completing your profile information, and then you'll go through and also answer a number of application questions. And then on the home page, you can also see that little summary down the bottom, which just has a little bit of your details. And also next to every stage of the application, you can see those little ticks. That's just indicating whether or not you've completed a section, so you can keep track of it all. And those little icons will turn green after you've completed a certain section. So one of the first things you should do is go into the supporting documents section of the application, and here there's 2 different things you'll do depending on if you're a high school leaver or a gap year student. So for high school leavers, you will need to do a schools assessment page, and what this entails is nominating your careers advisor, and they'll basically need to go in and put in some information about your assessments on their end, which means there are a few steps involved in this. So we recommend you get started on this as soon as possible. It can sometimes take a little while, just back and forth between you and your careers advisor to get all of that info filled in. So the earlier you start this and just get the ball rolling, the better. So please, if you have registered but haven't nominated your careers advisor, please do that as soon as possible. Do it tonight just to get that process started. And if you're a gap year student in this section, you'll need to upload a gap year explanation, which is basically just a little bit of info around why you took your gap year, what your motives were, what you got out of it, that kind of thing. So after you've got the supporting documents all done, you can move on to the actual application questions themselves. So when you first get to this page, up the top, you'll have the preferences section. So this is where you actually nominate which co-op stream, which degree you're interested in. So there's 3 options here, and you can put up to 3 preferences. But one thing I will say is please only put preferences if there's something you're really genuinely interested and passionate about. You can put just 1 preference if you want. You can put 2 and of course up to 3. But don't just fill out the 3 because they're there. Only put a preference in if you think it's really something that you are interested in and genuinely want to do. So after the preferences, there's a number of application questions, and these are just for us to get a little idea about, what your experience is, your passions, your motivations, all of that kind of stuff. And each of these questions will have a character limit. So you can see that's just above the box there, and then at the bottom there's a little indicator to mark your progress, just so you know what you have and haven't completed. And then there's a save button at the bottom, so you should save after everything you do. However, we do recommend completing the application questions in a Word doc first and just pasting them over. You'll probably be doing a little bit of thinking about the questions, some editing, so it's a lot easier to just do that in Word and then copy it over when you're done. If you're doing it in browser, if it suddenly quits for some reason, you don't want to lose all of your answers to those questions. So we highly recommend doing it in a Word doc, but if you are working in browser, just make sure to save as much as possible. So there's also the applications question summary page, and this just lists all of those individual questions and will give you an indication if you've completed them or not, so you can keep track of them. And there's also a few tips and instructions, so please read those tips on this page just to give you a little bit of guidance on how to answer those questions. So there is also the video snapshot stage. So you can complete this after you've done the application questions, but the link will be sent on the 30th of August. And you'll basically need to follow the link onto a platform where you can record a video, and you're going to get 3 attempts and you answer some questions in these videos. You don't have to use all 3 attempts. If you're happy with your first video, you can use that. But if you do go and do a new attempt, you'll have to use that latest attempt. You can't then go back and use the first attempt. But this video snapshot is a great opportunity for you to show a bit of your personality beyond what you've already answered in the application questions. So we really encourage you to use this to just show us a little bit about what you are all about and your personality. We've also got a little example here of what the video snapshot might look like, just so that you get an idea of how it looks.
Hi, my name is Jodie and I'm in my 2nd year studying advanced mathematics. I grew up in Adelaide and now I live on campus at UNSW. I love music and getting involved in everything, from service initiatives to social events. I've always had a passion for mathematics, and growing up in a single-sex school, I never noticed the gender disparity or faced any discrimination. However, when I grew older and started attending events such as math competitions, workshops, and camps, I noticed I was one of the few girls and I wondered why. I started experiencing the unconscious bias from others, and this affected my self-confidence. So in year 11, I decided to conduct a research project into why it is necessary to have women in STEM and how do we encourage this. This opened my eyes to the importance of mathematics in industry and the huge impact it can have, and I want to be a part of it. These experiences have made me determined and resilient and inspired me to always achieve to the best of my ability and to strive to make an impact on others. I've carried this with me through university and placement. It has helped me make the most of the opportunity I've been given to pursue my passion for mathematics. I can experience the real-world applications of maths and be a positive role model to others.
Cool, so hopefully that gives you a little bit of an idea of just what that video snapshot will end up looking like. Now for the application website, there are sometimes a few different issues with different browsers, but what we recommend is if you're having any technical issues, please use Internet Explorer. That is the browser that works best with the application website. But if you don't have Internet Explorer readily available, just try switching between a few different browsers, and that may fix any technical issues that you are experiencing. So keep that in mind if you run into any of those issues. You'll also need to nominate your co-curricular activities. So you're telling us, what co-curriculars you've participated in. And the way this works is in that little box, you just start typing what the co-curricular is, and all of the common ones, the most frequent ones will come up and you can just select it. If yours doesn't come up in that list, you can, however, answer it in text in part 1B. So don't worry if it doesn't come up from typing it. You can say a little bit about it in 1B in the text field there. One thing I will add about this is we encourage you to just add co-curriculars that you've participated in the last 2 years, unless you think it's something that you've done maybe in earlier high school that's super relevant and has really shaped who you are, shaped your perspective. But as a rule of thumb, try and keep it to things in the last 2 years. And quality is definitely better than quantity when doing the co-curriculars. So please just include things that you think are going to be relevant to whatever stream or to your own personal development. You'll also need to fill in a little bit about your educational background. So this is pretty self-explanatory. You put in all your subject names, and then you'll need to put in your Year 11 and Year 12 results. And then you'll also need to input either your trial HSC results when you receive them, or if you're a gap year student, you can put in your actual HSC results here. So a few key tips that I have for the application. The first one is to register and get started as soon as you can. The application does close on the 30th of September, which sounds like it's a long way away. But once you start getting into trials mode and all your assessments start coming in, you're going to be super busy. You're going to have 100 things on your mind. So when you have a bit of a lull period after half yearlies, it's a really good time to start getting a bit of a move on with the application. And especially the school's assessment page. So like I mentioned before, that does involve a few different steps with nominating your careers advisor. They'll need to get a bit of info about you from the school. So it's a bit of back and forth. So please try and get that started as soon as possible. Just get the ball rolling. And then the third tip is to review your application. So please, any spelling, grammar mistakes, try and pick up on those. And you can also have someone proofread over your application just for spelling and grammar. We're really looking for your authentic voice in this application. We want to know what you're all about. We don't want, a teacher or a parent or someone else's view on you. We want to know what your own authentic voice is. So please, it's fine to have someone else reading over the application, but try and complete it independently so we actually get a good understanding of who you are as a person. And lastly, this is an opportunity to boast a little bit about your achievements. It is an application and we do want to know about all the things that you've done. So if there's something that you're really proud of that you've achieved, please include it. If you don't include it, we're not going to know it happened. So yeah, anything you think is relevant, anything that you're proud of, please include it so that we know and we can judge based on that. And finally, there is an application tutorial, so that's on YouTube. So please check that out and that can help you with any other queries you might have about the application. Now I'm just going to go over a little timeline of how the whole application process works. So as you know, applications are already open. If you haven't already registered, you can do that right away. And then at the end of August, the invites will be sent out for the video snapshot. So that's at the end of August, and then you can complete that. And then on the 7th of September, we have Open Day. So this is an awesome opportunity to learn about anything UNSW, anything about the degree or the program you're thinking of studying. And Co-op will also have a big presence at Open Day, so you can come along, you can ask any questions you want about Co-op, you can talk to current scholars. So it's a great opportunity to get all the information that you're going to need. And then on the 30th of September is when the applications actually close. And then by the 11th of November, you will have an interview notification. If that application was successful, you'll find out then if you have an interview. And following that, the interviews are held on the 27th of November, and then the day before, on the 26th, there's an interview briefing day. So this is a day where you'll go along and basically find out all about the interview, about what it entails, as well as a few little tips on how to prepare for it. So then after the interviews, on the 10th of December, conditional offers come out. Now, one thing to note here is that these are conditional offers, and what that means is they are conditional on you getting the ATAR requirement. So like I mentioned, there's that 96 ATAR requirement, so you can actually accept your conditional offer, but that is still conditional on the fact that you've made that ATAR requirement, and that of course you will find out on the day when exam results come out. So just to reiterate, Open Day is probably the best opportunity for you to get all the information you need about anything to do with UNSW, anything about all the different programs that Co-op offers or that the uni offers in general. And that's on Saturday, the 7th of September. So if you're interested, please come along and you can find out all the info you need at open day. So now some time to answer a few questions. I'm just going to look at the chat to see what we've had come in. So firstly from Mikhail, I haven't done any formal extracurriculars like Duke of Ed. Should I still apply? Yes, you definitely should. So of course at Co-op we're looking for very well-rounded students. And some of that is showing that you've done a little more than just achieve things academically. But that doesn't necessarily have to be formal co-curriculars. You might have done a lot of other things in your community that aren't formally recognized, but if you can tell us about those opportunities that you've had and tell them how they've shaped you, then definitely it's still worth applying. As long as you think that you do fit kind of that requirement of being someone who, you know, has a lot of ambition and does like to go a little bit further than just having, you know, those academic skills. Another question is, what are examples of leadership qualities? So I think something that a lot of people, I guess a misconception about leadership is they think you need to be, you know, this super extroverted person who's always leading the bunch. And that's not necessarily true at all about leadership. In fact, good followership skills are a great example of leadership. So if you can show, you know, any example of where you might have worked with a group of people and you've helped in some way to kind of move that group towards a desired outcome, that can be, you know, some displays of leadership qualities. This could be something like playing in team sports, right? You could be a captain of your sports team, or you could even just be a member who's, you know, helping build morale in the team. Something like that are really good examples of leadership qualities that you could include in your application. But definitely don't think that you have to have been the person who was the school captain or something like that. Good fellowship skills are definitely a good example of your leadership abilities. So we have one more question from Christian. Is it worth tailoring your application to your first preference? And if so, how would you go about doing it? Let's say for marketing specifically. Yeah, that's a good question. So in terms of having two different interests, I could be interested in marketing, but also interested in information systems. You can mention both of those in your application. I'd say if you have one, so you're really interested in marketing, you can definitely say feature marketing a little bit more, have that at the forefront. But there's no harm in saying that you're interested in elements of another stream as well. Something that you'll find, especially in marketing, is that there tends to be a lot of crossover. You're doing a commerce degree in general, so you'll be able to have opportunities to do a lot of other business subjects. And you might well be interested in the intersection of where marketing and information systems kind of come together. And that's perfectly fine. You can mention both of those things. I think as long as you kind of justify a little bit why you're interested in both of those in the application, that's fine to do that, to speak about both of them. But I think just a little bit of a logic about how they kind of fit together with maybe your skills is definitely helpful there. And then one more question from Christian. How would you make the most out of the interview briefing day? So the interview briefing day is actually super useful. I think even if you don't end up getting a co-op scholarship, it's very good experience going along and just hearing a little bit about how you go about a professional interview. I mean, this kind of stuff is relevant for just about any job interview that you're going to do. So they will give you a lot of tips on the day about what you can kind of do to prepare. But I would say to make the most out of it, you'll break into sections specific to your stream. Please ask any questions on that day. Talk to some of the other scholars. The other applicants. It's a good opportunity to kind of meet other people there who are interested in doing the same degree. Maybe ask them, why they're doing it, what school they've gone to, what subjects they've done. It's a good opportunity to kind of network with those people, just so that you get a bit of an understanding of kind of the caliber of what people are applying for co-op and applying for your stream. But I think the most important thing is just to be super attentive on that day and ask any questions that you might have. So we've got one more question here. Do you complete the application before the video snapshot, or does it happen at the same time? So you can do them at the same time, so you don't need to complete one or the other in a specific order, but they both need to be completed before the application can be submitted. I don't think we have any other questions, so hopefully I've answered. Yep, no worries, Christian. So thank you everyone who's hopped on today, and wishing you all the best with your applications, and good luck for everything in the future. Thank you.